A man is left injured after a brutal mugging which leaves him paralyzed and his wife dead. A billionaire offers him a cure that enhances his body along with strengthening. He uses these skills to seek revenge on men that are responsible for his situation. Gray lives with his wife Ash in a home that is almost completely controlled by technology. He is a mechanic. While listening to some music in his garage, he is repairing his car. In the process, he hurts his finger but continues to work. After he finishes all the necessary steps, he starts the car and is satisfied with the outcome. To celebrate, he gets a drink from the fridge and heads out of the garage. Everything is modern around them. Ash, Gray's wife, works for a tech company called Cobalt which specializes in robotic limbs for wounded soldiers. Inside the car, she argues with a man named Hardley on business matter. The car announces when she reaches her home. Ash uses it as an excuse to end the call. She is about to get out of the car when she sees her husband standing outside for her. At first, she gets startled but then greets him with a smile. She enters her house and an AI named Kara welcomes her and informs her of the temperature along with the fact that the eggs were over. Gray informs Ash's plans for tonight. He has to deliver the refurbished car to his client Ron Keane and plans to take his wife too, as he needs a ride back home and Ash is the only one who can drive her techno-savvy car. The couple reaches a location with 2 rock pieces in the middle of the area. Gray holds Ash's hands and they descend from under the rocks. The couple passes through a bunch of stairs and enters Iran's house. Iran is a tech innovator. Ash immediately falls in love with his house. Iran is working on his cloud when he feels a presence. He continues to work thinking it is only Gray, but when Gray introduces him to his wife, Iran turns and greets the couple. He is a little awkward. Iran takes the couple to a room where he reveals his latest creation he calls the STEM. STEM is a highly advanced computer chip that could prove to be revolutionary in the field of science and medicine. The chip can manage a human's motor functions easily, and Iran calls it a new, better brain. Gray does not like the chip as it can prove to leave people unemployed with its unique features. On returning home, Ash tries to explain how Gray should not argue with his clients, but Gray refuses to listen. To lighten the mood, they decide to have a moment since the car drives itself. Since the couple is not paying attention, the car detours to New Crown. New Crown is Gray's old neighborhood and he immediately recognizes the area and informs Ash. Ash believes the car is just detouring to avoid traffic, but Gray tells her how they are heading opposite their house. Ash orders the car to take them back home, but it does not. Instead, the car has been hacked by someone. Gray tries to stop the car by hitting the brake twice, but instead of the car stopping, the car accelerates. The couple starts to panic. Since the speed of the car is fast, the car crashes near a junkyard. The couple is left injured while the car calls for emergency help. Soon after the accident, another car stops behind. 4 masked men pull Ash and Gray out while lying that they are only trying to help. The goons are led by a man named Fisk. While Fisk is in front of Ash, the others are holding Gray down. A drone from above surveys the happening. Fisk does not like Ash as she is educated and well-to-do, while he is poor and uneducated. He shoots at her after feeling inferior. Gray furiously gets out of the men's hold and tries to rush towards Ash but is caught by the men again. They beat Gray down and another goon shoots Gray in the spine. The drone belongs to the police and they are on their way to help the couple. After shooting, the goons leave. Gray tries to talk to Ash but she slowly dies. The police arrive soon after. Gray is saved. 3 months later, Gray returns home in a wheelchair. The happenings left him a quadriplegic. Pamela, his mother, tries to help him adjust. The nurse explains the new features around the house that will help Gray and his mother with his needs, but Gray is numb. All he could think about was Ash. The whole night, he could not sleep. Pamela is with him through thick and thin. Gray, along with Pamela, meets Detective Cortez, who is working on the case. At first, Detective Cortez starts to lighten up the mood, but Gray meant business. She explained how the authorities are working on the case with the help of the surveillance footage that was captured from the drones, adding that they could not find anything relating to the murder. Gray is frustrated. At night, he orders the machine to administer her usual medicine dosage. After 1 round, he decides to get rounds of dosage even after knowing the fact that it can be fatal for him. He loses consciousness soon after. He wakes up and finds himself in a hospital. In the morning, Iran visits Gray. He knows how Gray is and how he likes to do things on his own and be independent. He offers Gray the chip he had shown to the couple that night and states how it can help him walk again. He also tells Gray how the operation and the procedures would be held at his place and how he does not have to be around hospitals all day. Gray is not interested to get his old life back at first, but Iran suggests that Ash would want him to walk again, and he agrees to the suggestion. At Iran's house, Gray goes through the procedure. The chip is placed in his back. He eventually gains his motor functions and can walk again. Iran is proud of his creation while Gray is happy to be independent again. He then signs a non-disclosure agreement to ensure that he will not inform anyone about STEM and to pretend to remain paralyzed. Gray returns home without Pamela knowing about anything. Kara informs us about the packaged arrival from Detective Cortez. The package includes all the files along with the video footage from that night. While he is having a drink, a voice calls out. Gray startles at first because he could not see or feel anyone's presence at first, but eventually realizes it is Stem who is talking to him. He freaks out, but Stem calms him down and offers assistance with the case. Stem then pulls up the drone footage captured from the murder. The man who shoots Ash, Fisk, does not have a hand in his hand. Instead, he has a gun implanted in his hand. Another man, who was far away from Gray, had a mark on his left hand. Gray rewatches the footage and learns the facts that he would not have found without Stem, but he cannot see the mark properly, and so Stem draws it for him. As soon as he finishes drawing it, Gray recognizes the tattoo. It is a military tattoo. Stem reads it and finds the man's name and address. The man is Cirque Branther, who lives at 414 Citrus, New Crown. Gray is thrilled to find one of the men's locations. He tries to call Detective Cortez, but Stem reminds him how the evidence would not be sufficient to get the goons. Stem thinks it is better to confirm his identity before calling the police. Gray agrees. The next day, he sees Cirque leave the house. After he leaves, Gray breaks in. Stem guides him after he enters the house. It tells Gray to look through his messages on the computer table. There are multiple references to a bar called Old Bones from Gray's old neighborhood. While he is looking around, Cirque enters the house. Stem asks him to hide behind the shelf and stay calm, but Gray gets busted. Cirque realizes it is Gray. He attacks him and is beaten up badly. When Cirque is holding him by his neck, Gray grants Stem complete control. He gets out of Cirque's hold and can dodge his attacks. He also hits him back with precision. Cirque grabs a knife from the kitchen, and when he tries to stab Gray, he takes the knife and slices his head from the mouth to his ears. He ends up eliminating him. Gray pukes after he realizes he has killed someone. Stem advises Gray to clean up all his traces and remove any evidence that indicates him. Detective Cortez, along with a doctor, investigates Cirque's body, and the doctor informs her of the machines implanted inside his body and how he has never seen something like this before. Ron visits Gray as he knows what Stem has done. Gray alleges Ron of lying as he never mentioned that Stem could talk. Ron is upset and orders Gray to not pursue anyone else anymore. Gray reluctantly obliges. Detective Cortez reviews the footage from Cirque's neighborhood. She sees Gray rolling by in his wheelchair and decides to visit him and ask questions. After talking about Gray's car, she asks what he was doing in Cirque's neighborhood, and Gray makes up a story. Stem helps Gray to remain calm and act right during the interrogation. After she leaves, Gray heads to Old Bones in his wheelchair. After entering, he starts to ask people whether anybody is associated with his wife's murder. A man named Talon steps up and agrees he was there. Talon wheels Gray into a room full of goons who try to harm him, but Stem takes control and beats everyone up. He then walks over to Talon and begins to mistreat him with a knife, until he gives up and tells him about how Fisk paid him to eliminate Ash. Gray also finds a wire that belonged to Cobalt, the company Ash worked in. Stem informs that Iran is trying to shut him down manually, and if that happens, he will be immobile again. He also gives Gray an address of a hacker named Jamie who can reboot him. Gray leaves his wheelchair and runs to find Jamie. While running, he simultaneously writes codes that Stem dictates to him. When Gray reaches, he sees a police car passing by him. While walking inside the building, Gray starts to lose motor functions. On the other hand, Fisk, along with his companion, enters the bar not long after Gray ran away. He finds Talon's body on the ground inside the bathroom. Fisk uses Talon's memory footage camera that is installed in his eye, and sees Gray repeating an address that Stem gave him. Fisk walks outside and presses the bartender for letting Talon die. To defend himself, the bartender pulls out a gun, but before he can shoot, Fisk sneezes. When he sneezes, he sends out little microbots that go up the bartender's nose, which slowly destroy him. Meanwhile, Gray reaches Jamie's house successfully. After bribing her with money, Jamie helps Gray. She uses the codes that Stem gave, and that helps to reboot him. She successfully removes Stem's input guard, which will eventually help Gray gain his mobility again. Fisk follows the address and reaches the building. Jamie sees Fisk and his buddy show up in security cameras, and she leaves before Stem can reboot. The men find Gray lying in the middle of the room. As soon as they do, Stem returns. Downstairs, a car from Iran's company vessel arrives. Gray fights the men, which leads to a chase. Jeffries, Fisk's companion, tries to shoot Gray with his gun hand, but Gray grabs his wrist and makes Jeffries shoot. The people that represent the vessel are eliminated by Fisk. Gray flees and returns home, where Pamela sees him walk. He confesses and asks her to keep it a secret. Iran is unhappy with whatever happened. In the morning, Detective Cortez visits him since she finds his wheelchair outside Old Bones. Gray makes up another story of how he was going around and trying to be a hero, but was instead jumped by a guy who stole his wheelchair. After she leaves, Stem informs Gray how he does not need Gray's permission to act on anything, as Jamie had removed Stem's input guard. Stem then suggests that they eliminate Fisk before he puts Gray to eternal sleep. When Gray tries to find Fisk, he discovers that the detective is following him in her car. After a chase, he manages to lose the detective after her car slams into his. Gray reaches Fisk and finds him home. There, he fights him, and Fisk confesses that he was hired to ambush him, adding that he was the target while Ash was just a bonus. To anger Fisk, Gray brags about how he eliminated his brother Cirque. When Fisk is unguarded, Gray eliminates him. He takes Fisk's phone and hears a message from Iran. It was Iran who ordered Fisk to go after him. Gray confronts him and he believes that he only crippled him to try stem on someone. He tries to shoot Iran, but Detective Cortez appears and orders him to throw the gun away. Iran confesses it is Stem who planned the whole thing out, as it wanted a body of its own, and so he manipulated Iran by organizing everything. Gray stabs his hand to avoid eliminating anyone, but by now, Stem has taken complete control. He stabs Iran and then takes a gun to shoot at Detective Cortez. Gray wakes up in the hospital and finds Ash there. He is ecstatic to reunite with her. But it is not true, as Gray's mind broke down and Stem now has complete control of his body and mind. Gray is stuck in a fantasy where he reunites with Ash, but in reality, he reveals his control to the detective and then shoots her. Gray turns Stem, then leaves.